Hi everyone, I'm John Cora, the marketing manager for Jarvis Law Office. I'm sitting here with Hope Spangler, our chief vision officer. And today we're going to talk about a subject that hits close to home for a lot of people. What happens when your loved one needs nursing home care? Hope, this is something I know you're very familiar with. Just give us a brief overview of your personal experience with this subject.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, John. As John mentioned, my name is Hope Spangler, and I've been with the firm now for 22 years. Prior to that, I worked in long-term care for 14 years. Between that work experience and my own family, going through nursing home stays, both short-term rehab and longer-term stays, I have quite a bit of knowledge that I think can help our families and often does help our families make this all less scary and less overwhelming. I also want to mention we've got plenty of other people on our staff who have equally tremendous expertise and who are great resources for the families that we support.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hope. You've seen this quite a bit. What's normally the first thing that happens when a son, daughter, loved one, spouse gets that call? My mom or dad needs nursing home care. How do they normally react?
So most of the time they're overwhelmed.
Mhm.
It's usually a fairly short time frame. Their family member, their loved one may be in the hospital, or they may have been in a therapy or rehab stay at a nursing home that offers those services. And they're often being told that they need to make decisions, and they're given a fairly short window, often, a little more than a day to a few days, to make decisions about where they want their loved one to go, based on, of course, what their needs are, and then also oftentimes based on what their health insurance coverage may be. And John, we're going to talk about health insurance coverage and long-term care under another question, because that can get complicated.
Now, Hope, I should know the answer to this question, but I honestly don't. If someone is facing that, let's say they've gotten that call, can they call Jarvis Law right away?
They absolutely can. And you don't even have to wait for that information. We get calls from many families who they just know something significant has changed. And even if you're not yet in the nursing home or in the hospital, you may be noticing significant changes with your loved one that you're starting to go, I don't think this is going to keep working as well as it has been up to this point. And we really need to get things in order so that we don't end up in a crisis. It's often a crisis that leads someone to call us when their loved one's in the hospital or nursing home. They've had a fall, or something happened and there was an incredible amount of confusion or just a major change in their overall ability to understand things, or they're acting out of the ordinary. It can be a number of things. The common thread to all of that, something significant has changed and no one's sure what that means and what they should, or even sometimes more importantly, shouldn't be doing based on that.
I want to touch base on the insurance question in just a moment, because I think that's a great thing to talk about. But you just made me think of this other question I have. What if you get that call and your first thought is, I'll just take care of my parent? Would you advise someone, especially like we know a lot of these folks who are getting this call are the sandwich generation, people who are taking care of both parents and children at the same time. Would you say that a lot of people do have that reaction of, I should take care of my loved one? And then why is that a good or bad idea?
First of all, thank you. That's a great question. And it's one that comes up a lot. There's no one clear answer to that, but a conversation needs to happen. And a conversation with hopefully a professional is the best way to start making decisions around, can or should someone try to step in and care for their loved one. And it's not that anyone here, especially myself, is saying that the person might not do a good job. and you might not love your parent enough, or, a whole host of mights or just different things that come into play, or how many responsibilities you might already have on your shoulders. The challenge is that unless you've been a 24/7, 365 caregiver for someone else before, you probably have no idea what that really means as far as what you're agreeing to, first of all, and how that's going to impact you physically, emotionally, your own ability to work, take care of a spouse, children. Situations are so different here.
It's true.
And a lot of times we'll have family come into us and say, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to stay home and care for my mom. Or often my dad. That's the one we get a lot. Mom passed away. She made me promise I'd never put dad in a nursing home.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of us have heard of those conversations or been part of one. The challenge is your parent also doesn't want you giving up your life and your relationships in order to do that. I hope it's okay if I share something personal.
Yeah.
My dad was an amazing man and was primary caregiver for my mom, who many years ago was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And her progression's been very slow. And for many of those years, she was telling everyone else that she was dad's caregiver. He had some mobility issues. Dad had a stroke. After several months in hospitals and rehabs, he passed away. I have two sisters. My oldest sister stepped in, and she lives in our parents' hometown. And she said, okay, I took mom in while dad was in the hospital in the rehabs, and I want her to stay with us. And I cannot tell you how much that meant to my younger sister and I, that she would do that for our mom. She's working full time. She has a husband. She has a child. She has grandchildren. And my mom has now been with my sister and her husband for the past 2 years. A little more than that, actually. And I cannot tell you the toll I have seen it take on my sister, who is an amazing person. She is so strong emotionally, and if she says she's going to do it, she does it.
Oh, yeah.
It has impacted her health. It's also, I think, impacted my brother-in-law's health. And they have caregivers coming into the home Monday through Friday, the entire day, so my sister can work, and my brother-in-law being a caregiver isn't his entire retirement. But it's still a lot of stress. And my mom will sometimes get up and she'll have an accident at 3 a.m, which means my sister doesn't get a restful night of sleep. And there are changes going on with my mom. It's just a lot to see. I love that my mom is in a place where she feels loved, and I know she's taken care of incredibly well. But I know also that if we were talking to my mom and dad 15 years ago, this isn't what they would have wanted for my sister. And so when we meet with families, we talk about some of these things, because until you have actually been in the position of agreeing to put your life on hold, you don't truly realize what you're taking on when you agree to be someone's full-time caregiver. And it's not a job that one person can do indefinitely for another.
Hope that makes me think, first of all, it's great that you have a sibling who can do that, but it does take a toll. I've been there myself. And I always would make the joke, I look around, I'm like, I don't see a nursing degree on my wall. But my mom was on dialysis, and we had to do it at home every night. And I'm like, if there was an emergency, I would have panicked because I didn't know what to do. And I often say, I wish I would have had Jarvis Law in my life back then because of our care navigation services, which we'll touch on in just a moment. But I want to go back just a little.
Hmm.
We're at this point now where, okay, I accept my loved one needs
Yeah.
care, but how am I going to pay for that?
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned insurance, long-term care insurance. Can you just elaborate on that just a little bit more when it comes to this specific situation where your loved one's getting ready to go into the facility?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
So I looked this up not that long ago because I had someone telling me how guilty they felt that they themselves didn't have long-term care insurance and they were needing care. And so I looked it up, and something like 3.8% of the entire US population has long-term care insurance. So first of all, if you don't have it, don't beat yourself up about it. Most of us don't. And that's by a long shot. Most of us don't.
I don't.
And part of the challenge is too, at a certain point in time, you can't qualify for it because if you're already having health issues or you've gotten a little bit older and are just looking at it now, it can be really expensive. It's not a cheap proposition even when you're younger and healthy. So we're going to cross that off the list because most people don't have long-term care. The next thing is Medicare. Now, most of us know Medicare will pay for hospital stays, doctor's appointments, lots of services, therapy for a short time in the rehab or in your home, tremendous amount of services, not ongoing. The longest Medicare will pay for care in a rehab center or nursing home is 100 days.
Oh, did not know that.
It's a hair more than 3 months. So if someone isn't able to return home, we're still going to have to figure out how to pay for that long term. The next choice is usually person looks at paying for it privately, out of pocket. Having worked in this area, I would say the average retired person's income is probably around, let's say, $3,200 a month.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The average cost of a nursing home per month in our neck of the woods ranges from about $9,000 a month to about $14,000 a month. So if that's what you're paying per month for this level of care and your income is $3,200 a month, that means you are reaching into your savings or investments, whatever it is, to make up that difference because your income is just not going to cover it. The next option for paying for care is Medicaid. Medicaid is the most common payment source in a nursing home. And that's because many people start out with Medicare. They get through, it's usually not 100 days. It's not even close to that. Let's say Medicare approves 20 days of therapy. They aren't able to go home, so then they have to start paying privately. If you're a single person, Medicaid's deal is that you spend all of your assets, including selling your home and spending through that, until you have less than $2,000 left in your name. At that point, Medicaid will start making up the difference between your income and the cost at that care center. Now, you get to keep paying any health insurance premiums, and you get a whopping $50 a month of your income for small personal items, basically. But that's the deal that most people make when they access Medicaid to help with that care. At our firm and any elder law firm, what we're saying is that most people do end up spending through their assets. Most people are terrified of that possibility, so they don't access care quickly enough, and they put themselves in this situation where they do end up in a crisis. What we encourage is trying to offset things a little more quickly, getting some care in earlier, if at all possible, so someone can stay home safely for a longer period of time. We can also help put things in place so that that person can name individuals to help with them, maybe like the boots on the ground kinds of things, running to the bank or the grocery store, if that person just isn't up to doing those things on their own. The other thing that we can do is we can help protect a good portion of that person's assets so they don't have to be spent down. Elder law attorneys are really looking to help protect who and what is most important to the client that we're sitting down with. Most of the time, they want to make sure that they're choosing who makes decisions for them later in life, and they want to make sure they don't lose everything that they worked their entire lives for. And we can do that, and that person can still access quality care. Now, John, I bet you're going to ask me about the 5-year look back.
You know what? You read my mind. So how does that 5-year look back work? Because I've heard about it, and I've also heard that it might change. And just tell me what you know about that and how it impacts our possible new clients and our current clients.
Absolutely. The 5-year look back is whenever someone does apply for Medicaid for help with the cost of their health care services, Medicaid looks back 5 years currently to see if they changed how they held any of their assets. And if they did, Medicaid says, aha, there's a consequence for that. We call it a penalty because Medicaid's math doesn't work like the math that you and I are familiar with. If you give away X number of dollars under Medicaid's formula, and this varies from one state to the other, then you have to pay back X plus, let's say 20% or 25%.
Wow.
That's why we call it a penalty.
Yeah, it sounds like a big penalty.
Right? So that you don't just have to return what you gave away or get back what you gave away. You have to get it back plus some in most of the circumstances. So it really is set up that way to discourage people from giving their assets away, right? If you have to pay back or get back way more than you gave away, that'll fix that pretty quick. Most people simply don't understand that this penalty factor is a part of how Medicaid works through things. And so I met with a family this morning, and mom sold her house to her daughter for a tremendously discounted rate. The daughter improved the house and resold it and made quite a bit of money, but then she spent it on the next thing. There are also some other things that happened along the line because, of course, mom had no idea that she was going to have this issue with her health and she was going to need care. The change did happen with her health. And now we've got to look back over the last 5 years of that period Medicaid looks back across to find any kinds of things that aren't normal birthday or Christmas gifts. And we've now got to fix them, or we've got to deal with that 1.2 penalty factor from Medicaid. Now we're in a good position in that we're going to be able to fix a lot of them. And I'm so grateful this family came to us because we're going to be able to get mom access to Medicaid, not immediately, but after a handful of months. She's still going to have a portion of her funds set aside so the kids don't have to worry about reaching into their own pockets, and mom doesn't have to worry about being a financial burden on them. If, as they were going to, because there are 3 kids in this family, 2 of them were like, we're going to go apply for Medicaid now. If they had done that and the 3rd child hadn't said, no, I want to go figure out from the people who do this every day if we should be doing something else. If that child hadn't come in, this family would really be in a pickle. The most scary part about it, they wouldn't have found out about that penalty until there was no money left. Because they came to us now, we can fix it and still preserve some of what mom has.
That's wonderful.
It really, really is. So, John, in the process of asking me about the 5 year look back, you said, hey, I've heard it might change. And it is something we were incredibly nervous about with the big, beautiful bill. And it's something we still don't know about long term. Nothing in the bill is forcing the change, but there are a lot of changes coming up for Medicaid type services. At this point, it looks like many of those are going to affect people on the younger age side of things. There are also going to be some home-based or assisted living-based programs that may change. They're called waiver programs. In Ohio, we've been incredibly fortunate to have those additional services under Medicaid's umbrella to keep someone in their home longer or to receive Medicaid supplementing the cost in the assisted living, not just the nursing home setting. We don't know what's going to happen with those, and we do expect some changes. We know that there are some other states who are already seeing some cuts or expecting cuts come January 1 because of the change in that bill. In Ohio, we're still listening for what it means for us.
And I think it's important to note also that even if the big, beautiful bill was never a thing, even if someone else would have gotten elected, this was likely coming regardless, because the last time that look back period change was what, 2003 or 4 or 5?
2005. You've been doing your research.
20 years at least.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it's one of those things where like it was probably going to change regardless. If it doesn't happen this year, probably going to change soon.
We do expect that. And I hate to think about it. And I really hope families see things like this or read other things or talk to professionals who understand that the look back has been 5 years, now for 20 years. And you're right. We are overdue for an increase in the look back. There has been talk about it changing to 7, 8, or possibly 10 years. We haven't seen anything directly from this bill, but there has to be some give at some point, I think. And I don't want that to be the case. I can't imagine that we'll get to keep the 5-year look back for another 5 or 10 years. Why that is so important is that you can proactively plan to protect your assets while you're still healthy, or if you're just starting to have health issues, and even sometimes once you've had health issues. I think it's just really important to find out what the possibilities are for you. But let's talk about if someone's healthy now, let's say someone just retired or is planning to retire, they're 67 years old, and they're like, you know what? My mom and her sister, they both had some dementia and in their 80s needed care. Eventually, after care in the home, assisted living, eventually it meant moving to nursing home care when things progressed to that point. Those adult children who are coming into our office saw their parent have to go through a spend down or exhausting of their assets until they had nothing left, saying, hey, you know what? I don't want that to happen to me. Can we protect what we have so that when we need care, we can make the choice to pay privately for as long as we want? But if it gets so far into things that we don't want to lose everything, we can draw a line in the sand and not have to do that. Sometimes people come to us and they're like, you know, I want to make it through my 5 years. And if I make it through my 5 years, I want Medicaid to help with the cost. The person is still contributing their monthly income. It's not like someone's getting care for free. We can help with that. If someone gives us 5 years and 1 day, we can protect pretty much everything that they have. If someone can't get through all 5 years, often we can get them credit for whatever portion of those 5 years in the look back they do get through. So we're almost always in a better position having done the planning earlier than if the family hadn't done anything at all.
All right. Well, Hope, one thing you and Tim both always say at the end of your presentations is time equals money.
Mhm.
So what should people do now? Like they know they likely need the help of an elder law attorney.
Mhm. We do say time is money for those of us who are a little older, because with Medicaid's rules, they've quantified the value of a month. And that varies again from state to state. In Ohio, the value of a month is about $7,800 right now. In West Virginia, which is where you live, your months are more valuable than ours.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's close to $13,000 or somewhere in that range. So nearly double what the value of our month is on this side of the river, which doesn't make any sense. The arbitrariness of some of these numbers is what frustrates me so much about Medicaid's rules. Why should there be such a big difference just because someone lives in Ohio versus West Virginia? Our cost of living difference isn't that much different. It's not double in West Virginia versus what it is in Ohio.
Yeah.
So there is a different impact on people who live in these different states, even that are neighbors to each other. A lot of the Medicaid rules seem to be arbitrary like that. Our job, at least as we see it in the elder law field, is to help bring equity to families who did the right thing, who we were all told to save and put away for a rainy day. Well, if you need nursing home care or you just need care getting through the day, that's a rainy day. You saved and you put away, but should you have to lose everything because you're having a health issue, which almost none of us can control? In elder law, especially here at our firm at Jarvis Law Office, we want to help people stay in control and help protect who and what's most important to them. And especially if there's a spouse or a disabled child, that those assets that might otherwise need to be spent down under Medicaid's rules start to really affect the quality of life of that loved one.
What can our firm do? Like, what do we normally offer folks who are in this situation? Do we, let's say someone calls in and says, I need help. What would be the first step?
Sure. They'll transfer you or set an appointment for one of our intake team. And they'll have a fairly short 15-minute conversation with you to get a little more information so we understand the situation well enough to let you know whether or not we can help you. We don't want to waste your time. From there, you would go on to meet with, and hopefully in person, but we can do this over Zoom or even the phone. You'd meet with one of our client navigators who is not an attorney, someone like me, who would have a more in-depth conversation to really understand the situation more fully, understand who all is involved, and what's important for the family as far as what they want to accomplish and how they want things to work out in the future. At that point, we'll make a decision, our client navigator and that family, about whether or not they want to move forward to sit down with the attorney. If they do, we do a deposit, which sets the attorney's time aside because he's going to prepare for that meeting now that we've got a decent understanding of what the situation is, so that when our attorney sits down with the family, they can start making recommendations about the different options that family has and give them a good idea of how we can best help them.
Wonderful. We're going to put a number on the screen right here for you all to call. There's also an email address that you can check out too. And check us out online, jarvisfirm.com. Hope it was a wonderful conversation with you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, my pleasure. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. We've got a lot of other videos for you, so be sure to stay tuned for those in the near future.